Hello and welcome to Freedom March. I'm Levin Miller. Thank you so much for joining us. You're listening to us on 103.5 The Beat FM, channel 224, channel 112, that's on cable and on Flow, and of course ILTV Studios, that's over there on Facebook. But wherever you're choosing to listen to us, thank you for choosing to listen to us right here on Freedom March, where I haven't said this in a while, where quite often the goal is to inform, to educate, but sometimes we also set out to entertain. I'm joined in studio by Bradley Rule, who has become the spiritual advisor, I'm told these days, for the whole Bahamas. Bradley Rule, welcome to Freedom March.
Thanks so much. Good to be here, Levan.
I have a piece of advice for you, Bradley. If you want to include me, you had better include air conditioning. Any plan that you have that is absent the presence of good functioning air conditioning, you could just take my name right off the list. I have no interest in attending. I have no desire to be outside there. I don't want to be a part of it. Do not send for me. Do not call me. If you do not have air conditioning, forget my number. Also, let me say to the Cooper chap that tracked me down the other day, I tried calling. You didn't answer the phone. So that's now the second person that has left a number for me that I have tried to call and they did not answer me. So make sure when you all go into your public spaces and you, I don't know, want to castigate me and chastise me and sully my name, make sure you tell the people that when Lee Vanilla returned the call to you, that's you and the woman now from Andros, I've called them both, that I couldn't get through to y'all. All right? So I wanted to make sure that I say that publicly. And then also let me send a special shout out early to my friends Island Connect, who I hear are out and about at Foxhill. They having a wonderful time. They playing Chef today, spiritual advisor. They even ain't cutting no hair by my barber today. I see the Prime Minister is in Foxhill. I see Fred Mitchell is in Foxhill. I see the leader of the opposition is also in Foxhill. And so I guess everyone is in Foxhill. I might actually make my way down there once we get out of here and see if I could find me any,
some good food.
Or slaves. I was going to go look for slaves.
Oh, yeah, plenty of slaves will be there. Make no mistake about that.
And see what exactly is going on in and around Foxhill. So the Island Connect family, special shout out here from Freedom March. And also to my other friends, the Kingsmen from the Kingsman Collection. Let me send a special shout out to you, Nolan and those over there on Wolf Road. Have you ever been to the Kingsman Collection?
No.
I don't think they have anything in your size, but you should go. And everybody else should go. Just go over there. Tell Nolan that you heard about him here on the Freedom March, and he'll give you the Freedom March something. I don't even know what they call it. Anyway, don't move. That's the jingle. We're going to the break. I'm Levin Miller. Bradley Roll is with me, and we'll be right back. Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us through the break. I'm Nevin Miller. You know that already. This is Freedom March. You know that already. I'm with Bradley Roll. You know that already. And you're listening to us on 103.5, The Beat FM. You may not have known that already, or you may have been listening to us on channel 224 or 112 or on ILTV Studios or on YouTube. Wherever you're listening, though, thank you for listening to us. Bradley Roll, what does Holy Scripture have for us today?
Well, we're going to look at another question, a very intriguing question.
Okay.
That really makes you think at times when you look at, especially on various translations of sacred scripture. So the question was asked me today, how did we get the Bible? Where did the Bible come from? How did we get it? So I'm trying my best to answer this question.
People to tell them I know immediately when I reach.
So this is true. This is true. This is true. But I'm going to try and answer this question by using two passages that I found in the New Testament.
Okay.
I think it explains adequately. It convinced me how we got it.
Sure.
And so the first passage, Mr. Medusa, if you will, Paul told Timothy that this is how the scripture is supposed to be. He says that all scripture, as we know it, is given by inspiration of God. Some translations use the word God breathed. And it is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, and that the man of God may be perfect and thoroughly furnished to all good work. So I didn't do 17 as well, just for 16. All right, so in 2 Timothy 3, 16 and 17, it says that all scripture is given by inspiration of God. Guess God breathed. We'll look at that. And it's profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, and for instruction in righteousness. And also says that the man of God may be perfect and thoroughly furnished unto all good works. So God inspired men to write. So in the next passage is found in 2 Peter 20, 2 Peter 1, verses 20 to 21. We look at the prophecy of Scripture. And understanding this, the Apostle Peter says, above all, you must understand that no prophecy of Scripture came about by the prophet's own interpretation of things. For prophecy never had its origin in the human will. The prophets, though human, spoke from God as they were carried along by the Holy Spirit. So you see how these two passages connect. God breathed, which means to be influenced and to be carried by the Holy Spirit. So I understand, based on these two passages, that how we got the Bible is that God uses Holy Spirit to influence earthen vessels. Certain men were chosen to write the mind of God down on parchments. And we have that today in the form of the Bible, from the book of Genesis to Revelation. And then, of course, there were some other books as well. So this is how we got the Bible. I tried to answer the best way I could. 1 Timothy 3, 16 and 17, and 2 Peter 1, 20 and 21 gives you a basic idea as to how sacred scripture, and of course, how prophecy, when prophets do speak, that it's not something they dream about. It's not human origin. It's actually spoken from God as they are influenced or carried along by the Holy Spirit. This is the word of God, and we are thankful to Almighty God for it. Thank you, Medusa.
Thank you very much, spiritual advisor. And I'll tell you what's always very curious to me, the people that ask those kinds of questions.
Yeah, how did we get the Bible? Where did it come from?
They never, because they also, here's the thing, right? I get it. The Bible is a book about a life that is beyond this one, in a world that is beyond this one. That is what the book is about, right? I mean, but there are so many other theories, and some of them actually considered laws, that man simply doesn't question, right? if you studied any psychology at all, right? If you studied any of the sciences, whether it is biology or chemistry or physics, you will know that in every single facet of your studies, you are referencing at some point either Sigmund Freud's theory, Burke's theory, Newton's law, Ohm's law, and we have, in many instances, ourselves not tested any of this stuff, right? As a matter of fact, Sigmund Freud offers in the theory of nature versus nurture, somewhere in 11 pages of just going on, right? That it is incapable or impossible for the theorist himself, who at the time was Sigmund, to quantify whether or not an animal raised in captivity and given what they call EQ or emotional intelligence, whether that animal could be considered a better or worse animal in the argument of nature versus nurture. And this is the person that wrote the theory, right? So Sigmund had a theory that an animal in the wild was a better animal than an animal raised in captivity and taught to do tricks underneath the stimuli of reward or reinforcement.
Right.
Because there are only two ways in psychology to change behavior. There is reward and then there is reinforcement. One comes with a benefit, an instant or immediate benefit, and one comes with either an instant or immediate punitive behavior or stimulant, right? Then there is a theory of latent reward where you will do a thing over a period of time because you know a thing is associated with that at the end of a period of time. And that is how you curb behavior, right? But in Sigmund Freud's argument of nature versus nurture, what Sigmund argues is that the same animal that may have developed, quite sophisticated skills, i.e. the monkey in captivity, that very same monkey that could shell a peanut, do tricks, and even in some instances speak, might die if left in a real life scenario in the wild. Conversely though, the monkey that would survive in the wild, if put into a captive situation, might also die because of his direct link to his instinctive primeval makeup. And so in the argument of nature versus nurture, the theorist, Sigmund Freud himself, argues that there is no definite way to determine whether or not nature outbeats nurture in the evolution of how animals are raised or cultivated. And we don't question that.
But innately, though, the animal or human has something built inside of them that can't change.
Yes. However, Sigmund argues that over time in captivity, that innate desire, which is called survival, is dulled by the animal's dependence upon its surroundings in captivity.
Has it been proven though?
Sigmund says there's no way to prove it. This is the thing I'm telling you. So if you ever did have you done Sigmund Freud in school, producer?
It's mute then.
It's not a moot point. It is a point that you can argue ad infinitum, because there have been cases where you found animals that have been raised in captivity, right? That die shortly after being released to the wild, right? Similarly, there are animals that you've taken out of the wild and put in captivity, some of whom kill themselves because they cannot handle being raised in captivity. So the argument of nurture versus nature, and whether or not you are more desirous of doing the things that are intrinsically woven into your psychology versus the things that your psychology was conditioned to do, is something that Sigmund Freud himself, who is the theorist, has argued that you cannot completely quantify in an exact amount. And it take him 11 pages to get to that. But we don't question Sigmund. We don't question Sigmund, and we accept. And I'll tell you this: and anyone that's ever sat in a psychology classroom has had to cite Sigmund Freud's authority. Albeit Sigmund himself say he can't quantify this thing. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
but psychologists the world over don't question that.
But we question where do we get the Bible from.
But you asked me where the Bible comes from. I know. When I get here, I meet it here. Don't ask me that.
It's always been around, for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know Karl Marx? No, you do not. But you know what? Karl Marx says the theory of conflict proves that things like classism is only created so that human beings could decide why should one human being have something over another human being, and that college is a fallacy, and that we create these things so that we could put people into what is the word? Into sectors to justify why one person should have more than the other person.
Yeah, that's deep.
Right? Whereas if you compare the theory of conflict to the theory of fundamentalism, which is everyone will get exactly what they deserve based on, excuse me, their own natural movement through the planet, I don't agree with that. Karl Marx argues that we are all in a race for survival for a set of finite resources. Right? Well, where Karl Marx get that from? Nowhere. But guess what we do?
Could be true.
It is true. But here's the thing, where Karl get it from?
Yeah, that's deep.
Someone had to inspire Karl to come up with this theory.
Yeah.
So when Karl Marx write it down, right, we cite it, and we consider ourselves the intellectuals, the intelligentsia, yeah? Mm-hmm. Because I'm able to say that I'm a Marxist in my ideological posturing and position, and I believe that the theory of fundamentalism is a flawed theory, and that if all you do is exist, you will absolutely die in abject failure. I can say that because in my theorizing of the theory, I think that Karl Marx theory, in my view, lines up with what human life is about. Mm-hmm. We are in an indefinite race for a finite set of resources.
Yep.
That is the theory of Karl Marx. Now, Karl born in a hospital, just like every other baby. You agree with that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so where Karl get this from?
That's interesting.
Karl had to be inspired by something greater than Karl.
Yeah.
So how come when Karl write that down, we don't question Karl?
We accept it, yeah.
All of a sudden, I must question every single book in the Bible?
Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
And again, let's go back to Sigmund Freud. And even in the instance when the person whose name the theory is after suggests in his own theory that he himself cannot quantify this theory, guess what y'all still make me do to get an A on the exam? Cite it.
Yeah, you gotta do it, yeah.
So how come
it is
how come y'all ain't mad when Sigmund Freud tell y'all he ain't sure what he talking about?
It's interesting, eh?
But y'all want question, my good King James? I'm not listening to y'all. Where the Bible come from? I know. I meet it here when I reach.
Up, man.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it here when
and when I dare, it could be here. When you get to heaven, you will ask Jesus, because I don't know.
Holy men of God spake as they were moved by God's Holy Spirit.
Which is how you know God is real. Because
God
innovates man. And man, through the innovation of God, puts ink on a piece of paper, and you watch the manifestation of the utterances of the pen. And you watch them play out in life. And you say to yourself, someone had to tell this boy this, because how could he be right? Mm-hmm. And you see it in things like hymns, right? Right? And can it be that I should gain an interest in... If you play that in China, the people know that. How?
Of course, yeah.
Because God somehow...
It connects with the soul.
So inspired a man to put drippings of ink on a piece of paper that inspired... Man, did you see that? That inspired the soul, not of a nation, of the world.
Mm. Through spiritual songs.
Yeah.
That connects.
And the average hymn, on average, is about 190 years old.
At least, yeah. More than 100 years old.
This is my point. You know how much song don't make it to 20 years? You know how much song don't make it to 40 years? You probably can't think about a 60-year-old song in your mind right now that more than you and the people in your social circle know.
No.
But you have something like "'Tis So Sweet to Trust in Jesus" that if I play it in Benghazi,
they would know it.
They know the words of the song.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? So I am of the view that the way to test, see, this is the Levin theory now. The way to test the supremacy and existence of a God that is real is through the innovation and the ideas that seep from man. Because where did man come from?
And that's a question, too, that's been ongoing.
And this is my point. And if you consider this, man might actually be an infection of the planet. Because everything on the planet doesn't conquer man. Wherever man goes, when man goes places, lakes dry up. When man goes places, jungles shrink. When man goes places, roadways are formed. Right? See, you can go ask my church of God flare up. Now watch this. Watch this. If you go back to the creation, right? Jesus, God, gave creation an instruction. Do you know what that was? Grow. God never tell the herb or the field to stop growing. You agree?
Okay.
Grow. Then why ain't no bush growing in your room? You know why? Because man in there.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be.
And anywhere man is, every other thing in creation must come under subjection to the presence of man.
Submit. Yeah.
Because remember now, but tell you what, move out your room for 20 years and go back. You know what'll happen? Grass will grow through the tile.
It deteriorates. Yeah.
So it ain't the tile keeping the grass out your room. You agree with that?
Yeah, it's the human.
The man keeping the grass out that room.
What is interesting is people say that if you leave a house uninhabited, nobody living inside, that it deteriorates rapidly.
Correct.
But if human beings stay in it, it'll probably last for lifetime.
It is because wherever the soul of a so let me give you a little bit of military insight. So you have the topography of an area, right? Do you know what is the easiest way to tell where the humans are?
Go ahead.
The bush will lean in the direction the humans going. It's as simple as that. Whichever direction the humans walk in, the bush will lean in that direction. It is because even though the shrubs have instructions from God to grow, guess what they don't have instructions to do? Dominate man.
Yeah, man has dominion of everything.
And so as soon as man show up, every single thing else in creation
submit, yeah.
bends toward it.
Yep, indeed.
So don't ask me nothing but where no Bible come from, because y'all ain't asked Sigmund Freud to prove the theory of nature versus nature, and that was his own theory. You wanna know where the Bible come from? I know, I meet it here when I reach. That's what I want to say to you, but where the Bible come from? Don't move though, you hear the jingle. I'm leaving Miller. Bradley Rule is a spiritual advisor, he's with me. Don't go anywhere. Freedom March is on the next side of the break. Hello, welcome back to Freedom March. Thank you for staying with us through the break. Let me take you right straight to this ad. Hey, Bahamas, ready to turn your event into a party? Royal Inflatables has you covered. From brand new bouncers to water slides and combo castles, fun is guaranteed for all ages. The equipment is clean and inspected daily, safe, spotless, and ready to go. Enjoy free setup and take down, on-time delivery, and 100% hassle-free service. Perfect for birthdays, school events, or any celebration. Call or WhatsApp them now at 242-468-7268 to book. Let the party begin. The Work Center, located Rosetta Street, across from Roberts Furniture, is your one-stop shop for back to school. Dickies, Timberlands, and many, many more. Come on down and let their friendly staff assist you with getting ready for back to school. All right, there you have it. I'm joined in the studio now by someone that's not Bradley Rowell. He is, believe it or not, the communications director in the office of the Prime Minister, and I have to send for him because, you know, they've got a whole lot of things going on over there, and I figure the best person to ask is the person they just pay to answer. Latrey Raman is in studio with me. Latrey, welcome to Freedom March.
Well, thank you for having me, and good afternoon to your guests. And I didn't have the opportunity before to congratulate you on your new show. And
thank you.
This is the first time I've actually been in the studio, Bradley.
Yeah.
I believe during my tenure
as communications director. Don't worry about that. We having all kind of voice here. We doing all. Do you know the show was in Cat Island on last week?
I see that. Yeah.
Listen, big. My grandnanny used to say, "Big time or no time." Mm-hmm. And that's who we are. That's what we're doing over here on Freedom March. So welcome.
You promised me more titles than that, but
I'm going to get to that because before we begin the office of the Director of Communications, I want to know: has the ban been lifted? Are you now allowed back at Bahama?
Yes, I'm back at Bahama, and that was a self-imposed ban. I don't want no one to feel like I was banned from Bahama. It was self-imposed.
Self-imposed ban from Bahama. Yeah. Are you still lying to the girls?
I don't lie to I don't lie to women. I don't lie to women.
It has been alleged.
I'm very selective with the words I choose.
Okay, and so you leave them to their own perception.
No, I'm very selective with the words I choose.
Well, I want to point out something for all the girls that are out there watching, wherever you are. Any man with 3 cell phones got to be telling at least a little bit of lie. Because who calling you, Barack Obama?
No, to my defense, I only have 2 phones. The government of Bahamas have a phone where, you know, that I have to keep it on.
Okay. So
technically I have 2 phones.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And then the government of the Bahamas have one that just happens to also be registered to you.
Yeah, that would make it 3 phones.
Okay. All right. Okay. So one of them for calling the girls that you lied to at Bahama?
No. One of my phones, you know, sometimes a part of my role is having to be.
I like when they say a part of my role. Keep going.
Having to be in like 400 WhatsApp groups.
Right.
And I don't want those WhatsApp groups on my personal phone, so I put them on a separate number where I can just look at the groups.
Okay. And on average, it is average or customary for someone to be in 400 WhatsApp groups?
I'm joined against my will.
you like a de facto WhatsApp member.
Yeah, I'm a lurker, man.
Ah, boy. All right. So let's get to the nuts and bolts of it. I see you all are picking fight with the JCNP. That is what the general public has said. When I go into my watering hole spaces, people are saying, why Brave them picking this fight? Right? I can tell you what they say.
Yeah.
Brave doing this for your brother. And if it wasn't for Brave brother, we wouldn't have this issue going on in Junkanoo right now. Yeah. What do you say to the people that says that this has nothing to do with culture, it has nothing to do with the expansion of culture, it has nothing to do with the growth of Junkanoo. It is simply a prime minister grinding an axe for the purpose of nepotism?
I think in the absence of information, that perception is an understanding from our part.
Sure.
However, the path towards the establishment of a national Junkanoo authority is something that preceded this administration. Mm-hmm. My understanding, this is something that had preceded and started from the late 90s. The bill that is being proposed is something that has been started by consecutive administrations.
Sure.
Pintard sought to do it in 2018. I don't want to offer the defense as to why he didn't complete it. When the government came to power, the Prime Minister made the orange economy a priority of his administration. Mm-hmm. UNESCO formally recognized Junkanoo as a cultural component unique to the Bahamas. So
sure.
It's owned by Bahamians. The second step was to get Junkanoo into the curriculum of the Bahamas. And the third step was to improve the intellectual property of Junkanoo, or the intellectual property of Bahamians, whether you're an artisan, an artist. The amended law actually makes it illegal for someone to sing a Bahamian song without their written consent permission.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if they follow on it, but
it's in the legislation.
But it's in the legislation. So sure. we've given more legal weight to protecting the craft of Bahamians, and Junkanoo is the same, no different. You know, we want to make sure that persons who create their costume have the intellectual rights to their costume. Would lead us to the most reasonable, which is the fourth point. There's nowhere in the law today that the word Junkanoo is defined as a cultural component of the Bahamas.
Okay.
The government, if this is such a precious cultural component, then why is there any, like, sailing is written in law under this administration? We pass sailing at the national spots of the Bahamas.
Right.
So we have codified Junkanoo into law. This assumption that somehow the Prime Minister had given instructions to the University of the Bahamas, given instructions to legal reforms, given instructions to UNESCO to create a law that benefits my brother is unfounded. There's sufficient example of the Prime Minister's judgment that suggests that when he was the Deputy Prime Minister at the time and Minister of Works, one of his brothers who had participated in a bid with BPL. It was a merit-based system. His brother was successful in the bid. When the Prime Minister had knowledge of it, he canceled the contract. So this ain't no one who is in the business of doing anything for his siblings.
So you're saying that he's proven that nepotism is not his forte?
Not a forte. Now, is the Prime Minister sympathetic to his brother? Absolutely.
But is he not a Valley boy? He may not do it for his brother.
No, but I'm saying that the Prime Minister's sympathy for his brother will not translate into government policy. The government of the Bahamas is simply saying that the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture does not have the capacity to give this cultural expression the full-time attention it needs, right? When you sit, if anyone listened to the government public education yesterday exercise, every concern raised by the community validates the need for the establishment of, because they need someone who responsibility it is to take care of this community.
Trey, no one disagrees with that.
All right, go ahead.
I think the issue people that have been raising, in my view, is the immediacy of the decision, right? We've predicted here on Freedom March that based on our calculations, we have about 11 months to an election, right? Which means this government has gone 36 months already, or 32 months there, but there's about in its legislative agenda. Like you said, they came out of the door with the orange economy as a hot button priority for them. We've seen the advancements in the creation of the, what is it, CFAS?
No, this is CAPAS.
CAPAS. We've seen the expansion and the renovations being done down at the Dundas. And so the government has shown its hand, and they have made a believable enough case that the orange economy matters.
Yeah.
Why wrangle the beast of Junkanoo?
I reject this notion that Bahamians cannot come together and find a consensus, right?
Sure.
And anyway, and what is evident of Monday's exercise is that we made a decision to do something that is the right thing for government to do. I told them that if we're going to public education, that we're going to carry it live on TV. We're going to make it accessible by Zoom. We're going to put it on the radio, and we can put it online, so people could see the exchange of views. And we had a very sober-minded, very objective conversation.
Sure.
And I realized that when tone matter and respect matter, and the language the government has been consistent with is that we see the JCNP and all Junkanoo cooperation as our partners. We're not saying to sponsors pick the national authority or JCNP. What we're saying to the public is the government of the Bahamas is establishing an authority to which the JCNP and all of the other corporations will have a role to play in that.
Sure.
Right? And the authority have the ability to contract the JCNP
Correct.
to manage the parades.
Or any other
group
that they deem
beneficial. Because the authority is subjected to the same procurements. So this idea that the government is strong-arming, is seeking to dismantle the JCNP, is seeking to take responsibility is non-founded. There's no interest on our part, and we have said it very clear that they are part of it. They are enshrined. If the government was trying to get rid of the JCNP, it would make absolutely no sense for the government to put the JCNP in the legislation.
I was about to say that. The government can't try to get rid of the JCNP and then write it into the act.
So it doesn't make any sense.
So for the people that do not know, here is the proposed composition, because there has been a proposed bill. It's in full circulation in the public domain?
Yes, in full circulation.
Okay, so here is the proposed composition for the authority. The authority shall consist of 15 persons. I don't think that'll be enough. Appointed by the minister, by instrument and writing, from persons who have demonstrated an interest in the cultural and commercial aspects of Junkanoo, and 10 ex officio members. The members of the authority shall comprise of, and this is what the law proposes, 3 persons with training or experience in finance, management, government, international trade, law, export-oriented business, commerce, culture, youth development. You're going to get 3 Chinese for this.
Which is
This is one. You're trying to say that these persons have to be skilled in all these areas?
You have to be skilled.
3 persons with training or experience in finance, management, government, international trade, law, export-oriented business, commerce, culture, youth development, and the arts.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you.
That's a broad brush.
Let me tell you why that's important. The government of the Bahamas is making the argument that we believe in, as is the view of the Bahamian people, that the Junkanoo is a cultural aspect of our culture that could be marketed, sold, and promoted internationally.
I don't disagree with that.
So that skill set was going to be required to run an authority, which is essential in the business of making money.
You're not saying that this person will be the chairman. You said that the board will consist of 3 of these people.
Yeah, I mean, but see, one of the things that was noted yesterday. So if you have a chief financial officer, you want to make sure that person has the capability of growing the revenue, managing the revenue, raising funding, and being unique. We know whoever's the CEO, has to be someone, one from the Junkanoo community, has the respect of the Junkanoo community, has the ability to run and manage an authority
or
business.
CEO,
right? So when you look at these things, what the government is saying to the community is that we're creating the guidelines and the frameworks that you don't have to worry about some random person being appointed because that's somebody's boy. And this is a very thorough process that will require the expertise to manage it.
Sure. So in the very next line of the persons that will be a part of the board is the chairman of the JCNP. So he's number 2.
And what recommendation which was made by Father Palacios is if the language of the bill is consistent that says the chairman of the JCNP or any other representative of the JCNP.
I don't know if I want to have it as broad as that, though.
I mean, that was something that they recommended. I mean, that was.
I hear that. But here's the deal. The deal is right. You got to pick your horse.
Yeah.
Pick your horse.
Yeah.
Who do you think best represents the JCNP's interests in the room? Pick your horse and send him to the race. Yeah. That's my view.
The government's in the current form, the government is saying the chairman.
Right. In the proposed legislation, it says the chairman.
That would make sense. But I think for consistency,
you say any other person deemed suitable by the JCNP.
Yeah. So what happened?
But here's the thing now, because I'm asking, can that be a revolving thing, or does this person serve a full tenure? Because when you send Mark 6 months in, you send John 6 months later, because you're trying to give everybody a fair shake.
Well, no, but I mean, I would. It is not that the practice of them rotating is not impossible. Is it sound and makes sense? Absolutely not.
Right.
But I think in the proposed wording was by Father Palacios was to make the language consistent.
Sure.
And that is something that the legal reform headed by Damon Allen is taking under consideration.
Okay, so we have the chairman of the National Junkanoo Committee, the chairman of the Grand Bahama Junkanoo Corporation, the chairman of the Family Island Junkanoo Corporation, the director of tourism or a representative.
So you see the language. You see that. You see why you're consistently coming up.
Sure. The director of education or representative. The director of culture. The language is just that there. The Secretary General of UNESCO or representative. A representative of the Ministry of Health. The representative of the Ministry of Economic Affairs. A representative of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. A representative of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. A person who is most representative of persons involved in Junkanoo music and the following ex officio members.
No,
the deans of faculty of the Creative School, that's University of the Bahamas, the director of the National Art Gallery, or a nominee, and the director of the National Museum. I think right out of the gate, you haven't added the new culture school, which I imagine should have a footing on.
And then, the Christian Council, who was a part of the consultation process.
Right.
Recommendation is that the church. Why are you looking at me?
Yeah, because I like to always, when we talk about my friends in the church, I like to make sure I know what all they want to do.
They want to make sure that their faith, they have a seat at the table.
Sure, and so right out of the gate, I think that the composition of the authority may be too small. You might actually need a 21-member board.
Go back to the original point. Look at the composition on the board.
Right. It is all encompassing.
You think that those persons are going to sign up to get it between a dispute between what is the perception of a relative of someone or two Junkanoo groups?
No, I do not.
All right.
That's my short answer.
All right.
But my long answer is, what about the people that says this is like the cap and hand trick, right? So you hand me this authority thing, right? But it's only because you realize that that's the long route to gutting the JCNP.
I put you in my will.
Yeah.
The law in itself.
And you as number two.
They use number two in the will. So the law itself is saying, if we were having a conversation today that the government of the Bahamas is proposing legislation, the JCNP is not named in this legislation, then we'd have a much more emboldened argument that, hold on, this bill is being designed
to dismantle the JCNP.
That's not what we're having yet.
Okay,
go ahead.
What do you say then, Trey, to the people who will say it's too big of a bite, right? Some people may say, right? You remember the JCNP was formed by the PLP.
Yeah, Christy.
To structure the management of the parades, because we had gone from a time when the parades was almost like a people rush and you could just stand up wherever you want and the benches had no coordination, etc., etc. Christy though came in with the idea of fixed bleachers, which honestly I don't know. I think it's outgrown Bay Street at this point, but we have the carriageways. You can't get off of the sidewalks. It's an actual full functioning parade. The JCNP was created. That was step one. Maybe there should have been JCNP 2.0 and then maybe a JCNP 3.0 and then the evolution. So maybe we've taken too big a bite of the apple.
So everything you is describing to me is the exact challenge with public policy in the Bahamas, right? We always at times take a bandage approach to solving problems.
Sure.
The challenge is that you're trying to achieve two things. You want to improve the economic revenue from Junkanoo.
Right.
You want to have the sustainable management of Junkanoo. You want to have fair participation by the groups involved in Junkanoo. You want to do the public education of Junkanoo, right? And what we sought to do is we sought to solve those issues in silos, right? And say, okay, you know what? We're gonna improve the participants, the spectators' experience in Junkanoo. We can have someone who come, the Ministry of Youth don't have the capacity to manage this thing full time, so we can to look to the establishment of a private entity to manage this thing. But you've only solved 2 out of your 6 challenges.
Right.
And so now you get back to square one where you're saying, okay, we got these lingering issues. The thing we can do is we have this thing called the JCNP that has done a good job. And we can incorporate them, and we can have this knowledge-based sharing exercise in the establishment of this authority. So we ain't pushing, testing, and proving away.
Right.
We're saying, how do we facilitate?
How do we make it inclusive?
No, inclusive. Now, because the authority is guided by the Public Finance Management Procurement Act and all these different finance legislation, when they go to a commercial, because the government, let's look in principle now. In principle, the JCNP and the government of the Bahamas, to my understanding, has not had, they had an agreement that both parties had acknowledged that there's an agreement. I've not seen a signed version of that agreement. However, you do contract law. Once there's an acknowledgement on both sides, that we have an understanding,
then that is binding.
That's binding, right? So the authority then assumes the place of the government.
Okay.
So the function of the JCNP in managing the parade does not fall away. The only question that becomes the part of the conversation is the JCNP will now have to to negotiate with the authority the management of the parade. Now, I think that, and this is where we've been very, we're trying to put out as much information out there to allay all of the affairs. But at the same time, we want to be responsible in our commentary, not to, if it is to desire the government of the Bahamas to move ahead, not to bind the authority. And so there will be a process around parade management and negotiations around parade management. And so it would be improper and unethical to negotiate those commercial arrangements prior to the establishment of the authority.
I get it. And it's because it would also put the authority in a box, whereas you preset the parameters of what the authority can and cannot do even before it is established, which now kind of creates a pigeonhole for it. I understand that. But here's the thing though, Trey, right? So you have an authority. I think one of the things that Junkanoo was fair, this is just from my conversation with Junkanooers, is it feels like the government is reaching its hand too deep into something that Junkanooers ultimately feel they bill. It's their money, it's their time. The government gives us $30,000, that can't buy the feathers, right? My argument has been, it sounds like a big pissing competition to me, right? Where you have this executive group from this body and these boys from this place all having, and I don't think all of us have considered two things in the conversation. Where are Bahamians with it? And then where are the participants in Junkanoo? So you have the girls in Junkanoo, who, in my view, are a large part of the festivities. I ain't come to hear the drum beat. I come to watch the gals shake. That's why I on Bay Street, right?
Yes.
But we've had no conversation about what will be their future, how exactly does that look, what exactly does that translate into. And so there's a conversation that's happening, while very inclusive, that is still very dismissive of some of the people I think make the legs of Junkanoo work. And the question is government doing what government does, which is government likes to create policy.
Yes.
Because government feels as though that's where sanity exists. But in a thing like Junkanoo, where sanity isn't always the prescription. Sometimes the beauty of Junkanoo is the chaos of it, right? Do you believe that maybe the fear Junkanooers have is government is trying to turn this thing into a government organization, and that's not necessarily who or what Junkanooers see themselves as?
I have been given all sorts of advice about how people view persons who participate in Junkanoo. And if you accept that advice, you would leave with the fact that you're wasting your time. Persons in the Junkanoo community only see the world as black. They don't see black and white.
Right.
But I reject that view, because I spent the last couple of days understanding what motivate their passion. And a huge part of it is fear. And with progress, there is a huge element where fear is a necessary response. Because what is being proposed is something that is relatively new. And I would not, there is always going to be an issue of trust between governments and the citizens. What we are saying, what the government of the Bahamas is saying to those in the Junkanoo community is that we respect you enough, we respect your concerns, we respect your interests, and we want to be able to, and to your point, that Junkanoo is beyond the executive of JCNP, it's beyond the group leaders. There's a lot of persons who make up this community, and that's why the public consultations are being televised live so people could see the conversation. But the composition of the authority will be the composition of the community, the cultural community. The government of the Bahamas has and I always say this, and I say this in very strong terms, the ultimate responsibility of preserving Bahamian culture rests within the government of the Bahamas. that is not a responsibility the government of the Bahamas is going to delegate. We realize that there are stakeholders in the preserving of our culture. And a lot of persons want piece of that preserving. The fellows inside Exuma and Inagua, they see their challenges of Junkanoo different from the boys in New Providence.
Correct.
The fellows in Grand Bahama have different challenges. And we cannot solve the issue of Junkanoo in silos.
Yeah.
And the only way the government of the Bahamas is going to fulfill its mandate if it creates a structure
to create an umbrella
to solve that problem.
All right, that's the jingle. We going to the break. I got Latrey Raman here. He answering questions. I know Junkanoo, but I talk to them every day, and I telling you what the Junkanooers tell me. Latrey has come here to plead the government's case. We're hearing him out. At the end of the day, what must be agreed is that we must do what is in the best interest for all Bahamians, even if we upset some Bahamians. And so, we hope to find the line in the sand and get everybody to come to it. We'll be right back after this. Hello, welcome back to Freedom March. Thank you for staying with us through the break. I'm Levan Miller. You're listening to us here on 103.5 The Beat FM, channel 224. That's on cable, channel 112. That's on Flow, and of course, ILTV Studios if you're on Facebook. I think we've got Tanya on the line. Let's go to Tanya. Hello, Tanya.
Good afternoon, Mr. Miller, and good afternoon, spiritual advisor. It's your girl Tanya coming to you live from Shop Smart Department Store. Your miracle right here at number 122 Mackey Street, where we say we're here for you for whatever season of your life and for everyday living. And we are in the season of back to school. Yes, all of the smart shoppers are coming into Shop Smart to take advantage of not only our 20% off everything back to school, but they are in here taking advantage of our back to school sweepstake. If you are a smart shopper, all you need to do is come on into Shop Smart and spend a minimum of $25 on back to school items, and you'll be eligible for one of our sweepstake drawings. We do drawings every Saturday in the month of August. We have four fabulous prizes: the first prize, second prize, third prize, fourth prize, all valued at $500 each. You can get yourself a $500 BPL voucher. You can win $500 grocery at your food store. You can win $500 gas in your car, or you can win a $500 shopping spree in Shop Smart. A minimum purchase of only $25 of anything back to school at Shop Smart. Shop Smart, we've also got all of the spray ground backpacks that you need. Come on in, we've got you covered. And with the purchase of a spray ground backpack, you can get yourself 10 free books and 10 free folders. Come on in. Shop Smart is located right here at number 122 Mackey Street, and we're open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. for your shopping convenience. Or you can visit us on our website at shopsmart242.com.
Thank you very much, Tanya. So let's continue on with this proposed legislation for the authority that is to be established for the Junkanoo. There's two things I want to go to. Tenure of members of the authority. A member appointed under Section 52A 20 shall serve for a period of 2 years, but the appointment may be terminated by the minister where the member is unable to perform his duties, performs his duty in a negligent manner, or acts in dereliction of duty. The organization that nominated the member requests the revocation of the member's appointment and the appointment of a replacement in writing, or a member resigns. A member appointed under Section 1 shall be eligible for reappointment to the authority. Is there no cap? Is there no cap how many times you can serve?
I'm not entirely sure. Usually what happens with these scenarios are, this is a government appointed board by way of the minister.
Right.
And I'm not sure if this require this going to the Governor General. Some of these boards are statute to that point.
No, but I know that some boards have you can serve on the board up to 3 times, or not a period exceeding 9 years.
I'm not familiar with that, but I do know in an instance like that, most of the statutory boards have a period of 2 years, and and most times they are reappointed unless an election is called and the government at the time decides to go in a different direction.
Okay. I also want to go to remuneration. Let's go to remuneration. The authority shall pay to each member, in respect of his office, the remuneration and allowances as the minister may determine, and shall pay to the chairman, in respect of his office, remuneration or allowances in addition to the remuneration or allowance to which he is entitled as a member.
So what happens then, and this authority once established is subject to the approval of the Ministry of Finance salary scale. So look at what is the existing framework of existing government authorities, and so ordinarily the pay structure would be probably either consistent with, outside of the normal pay scale of the P&P service inside government, and then there's a pension component. And so one of the things that this bill speaks to, a lot of persons who are participating in the Junkanoo industry, they are, the only thing they get out in return is the love and the passion.
The bragging rights.
Bragging rights. And so what the authority is seeking to do is to create a career path for persons on the commercial and professional side of Junkanoo and the authority aspect of it. So you come in to be part of the authority, you're paid to develop this cultural component, you're given a pension, you get insurance. So really, changes
the landscape.
or and add to what it currently exists.
Yeah. There is one thing that also gets my attention about this legislation. I've served on a board or two, and so I know that these things exist, the subcommittees of the board.
Yeah.
I don't know that the legislation ever dictates how the subcommittees will be formed, which I thought was quite interesting here, though, because
I thought
this says that the committees on the boards that I served on, the chairman decided who would chair the subcommittee, and then the chairman of that subcommittee picks the subcommittee.
I think in this bill there's broader specification on
the law actually specifies
yes.
how it will. So it says an executive committee shall be chaired by the chairman of the authority. A member of the authority as provided in subsection 3, the director of culture, and 6 other additional persons. I'm just saying it's unusual to me for the legislation to talk about the composition of subcommittees.
I think the reason why this particular legislation is that specifies the roles and the function is because the legislation is drafted on the backdrop of understanding the need for inclusiveness.
Right.
So this idea, and so the authority in itself challenge the perception of inclusion, because the bill that is being proposed makes every effort to spell out who should be included on these things to ensure that there's consistency in thought. And we know what's going to be the beauty of this authority, this notwithstanding the temporary opposition, is that when they get in this room, these can all be familiar faces from their community.
Okay.
These ain't gonna be no one who they've not have a relationship with, have been on or have served in groups together. There can be one Junkanoo family trying to achieve one thing.
So it looks like there's about 4 committees here. The finance committee shall comprise of the treasurer, a member of the authority as provided in subsection 3, a government finance officer, and 3 persons appointed by the chairman of the board. Then there's the conference and workshop committee, which shall be chaired by the chairman and comprised of a member of the authority as provided in subsection 3, and 3 persons appointed by the authority, and shall plan and organize Junkanoo conferences, workshop, webinars, seminars, a national, regional, and international levels are to supply for the benefit of the participation, blah, 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 blah. Family Island Committee, comprising of a member of the authority as provided in subsection 3 and 4 persons appointed by the authority, one of whom shall be appointed chairman and charged with the responsibility to strengthen the Junkanoo program in the Family Islands, coordinate and act as liaison between Family Island Junkanoo participants and the authority, assist the Family Island Junkanoo participants with planning. I just thought that was very interesting.
And in reading that, no one after reading that would say, this is a really bad idea.
No. Let me say this.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to grade the concept.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, in college they do this thing called student development, right?
Yeah.
Which is really just understanding concepts and how they are developed. So they give you abstract ideas and they tell you, take this abstract idea and develop a concept. And then they grade your ability to do that. And so if I had to grade this concept, I think the establishment of a Junkanoo authority gets a B- in my view.
Okay.
The reason I wouldn't give it a B+ or an A- is because I think it is too monocular in my view. And I'm not going to call it myopic because that has negative connotations. But I don't know if I want the government specifically looking at anything, this tunnel vision. And what do I mean? When I think about the culture of the Bahamas, I think about the inclusivity of all the things that comprises. And so I've said, Freedom March has taken a position that I would holistically, I would actually come outside with a picket sign for y'all if y'all had said that y'all wanted to establish the National Cultural Authority of the Bahamas, which factored in sailing, which factored in craft and arts and straw work, which factored in, I don't know, flower cake making. I don't care what it is. But that collectively affects every facet of the culture. So whether that's crab catching, the authority considers how do we, 1, make all of the culture sustainable, and 2, make all of it economically viable so that we can expand the gross domestic product that culture is responsible for, and then transplant it into an industry or a ministry where there would be sufficient funding to create the kinds of policy mechanism that would cause crabbing to be something that is more grandeur than it is now, or Junkanoo to become something that is more grandeur than it is now. At the bare bones, though, a Junkanoo authority is a wonderful concept. But let's think about sailing in Ragged Island doesn't mean the same thing to the people here on East Street. Straw plaiting in Abaco or in Andros doesn't mean the same thing to the girls here in Camp Road. How do we, in an archipelagic nation with different economies, with different islands, with different genres of behavior, albeit Bahamian, find a way to create a centralized nucleus that creates a national thumbprint for how we plot, how we crab, and if we had figured out how to do that through an authority, I think that would be worth an A+.
Let me just say two things. One, I think what you're posing is a brilliant idea, right? I've been around, I've been an observer of politics and government for quite some time to understand that nation building and policy building is a continuous process.
Sure.
Right? Sometimes NEMA, remember there was the Disaster Management Authority, and there was NEMA,
Right.
which the government felt like that was in itself was a silo,
Right.
and they made a conglomerate of just the DRM.
The
right?
DRM,
So I give that example to say that policy is continuous. One of my biggest experience in my role as director of communications is that there is a culture of silos that exists. That persons, for whatever reason, like to operate in silos. Now, if you are someone who are tasked with the coordination of government messaging, you understand that silos simply cannot work.
They
right?
cannot work.
They cannot work.
Yeah.
Now, and for some reasons, silos benefit some people.
Correct.
For whatever reason, silos benefit.
But they create no uniformity. They create no standard. We cannot test them against anything.
So one of the things that what I did, and I thank the Prime Minister for his support, is to create a unified, or sought to create a unified government messaging.
Okay.
And what uniformity looked like, we needed to know what every single government agency was communicating on a particular day, particular week, particular month. Because the government of the Bahamas must have a unified message that it is communicating to publics, that is communicated to investors, that is communicating to the bond markets where they're trading. And so when you look at something like Junkanoo, you cannot have a set of circumstances where there's a number of silos of persons, silos are all good intentioned, but you serve a better objective when you bring everyone in the table. It takes a while,
Right.
to bring everyone to the table, but when you get everyone to the table, you solve a lot of the problems.
Yeah. So let's talk about something that's not Junkanoo. I want to take you to this clip that I saw over the weekend. We could talk about things that ain't Junkanoo, right? I have the director of communications. I asked him about everything, right?
Everything.
So I saw that there was a video going around. I see murder has began again. Congratulations to the government and whatever, well, not to the government, to the Commissioner of Police, in whatever effort she is exhausted in having there be a downtick now in the murder rate. Regrettably, over the weekend, though, there's been a bit of a scourge, right? Where is the government with regards to its support for the commissioner, particularly in times like these where we see the uptick? Is there a government responsive policy that bolsters the commissioner's plan through some sort of direct inject when the government sees these kinds of upticks?
So one of the things that you would have seen, and it goes back to the same conversation that we were talking about, silos. One of the biggest part of the government's plan right now is the clear whole bill strategy. The clear whole bill strategy is a byproduct of the Prime Minister's 5-point plan. Prevention, policing, rehabilitation, prosecution, and I think the other one is punishment.
Right.
The government has a 5-step plan to deal with those things separately. The most important aspect of that plan for the Prime Minister is prevention.
Right.
Like, how do we prevent crime from happening in the first instance? The second part of that is policing. And the Prime Minister always focused on wanting to prevent it in its entirety.
Right.
The policing plan the government saw was to look at something called Clear Hole Bill. Clear Hole Bill is a successful model of crime fighting around the world. So clear means that the police force, and they've had examples in Angleston, Carmichael, they would go into an area and they will clear out the criminal element for a period of time. They'd have a strong presence by the police. They would knock down buildings, clear properties where those criminal elements would hide their weapons and their guns. So you disrupt the gang activities.
Right.
When you clear out the gang activity, you hold the community.
Right.
That means that the police maintain a presence in that community for a period of time. The second aspect of that, the last part of that plan is to build. So where there was vacant properties where they were holding and hoarding guns, you simply replace that property with like a park.
Hold some green
spaces. Hold some green spaces, right? And that's been a consistent policy. Now, that policy was done inside Angleston. That policy was done inside Carmichael. There is conversation about expanding it to other areas, right? That clear hold build strategy is purely based on police intelligence, right? So if you've seen a dent in the overall murders in comparison to last.
We're at 56 now, I think it is.
Yeah, 56 in comparison to last year, right?
Yeah.
So that was one, and the reason why. So the government created a joint crime task force.
Right.
That have the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. It has the BDOC, it has the Ministry of National Security, it has the Ministry of Social Services, it has the Ministry of Education, because all of them are trying to solve crime in silos.
In silos, yeah.
So the Prime Minister delegates and chair a weekly crime fighting task force meeting on a either weekly or bi-weekly, right?
Okay.
But it is chaired by Minister Monroe and Glenys Hanna Martin, which symbolize the priority of the government. When this government came in office, the then Commissioner of Police said that they needed more CCTV to fight crime. They needed CCTV that has the ability of facial recognition and AI.
License plate recognition.
The government gave it.
I know that exists.
The government needed that they wanted the Commissioner of Police wanted a policy of saturation patrols. The government gave them 150 trucks for saturation patrols. They realized that there was a man shortage of officers because of the amount of officers that were retiring.
Yeah.
The government gave it the funding to have the necessary recruits. They needed the investment in training. They gave it the resources they need for training. So the government realized that the second thing that we had to deal with is dealing with the issue of crime from a matter that was beyond the Bahamas borders. So the foreign policy of the government of the Bahamas is, or the foreign statement of the government of the Bahamas is that the Bahamas as a country do not produce...
Does not manufacture weapons.
Manufacture weapons. So we've worked with the U.S. government to identify Bahamians or persons of dual citizenship who were purchasing guns, and they were transporting these weapons through Bahamian wholesalers or Bahamian shipping companies and getting them to the Bahamas.
Right.
The U.S. government then placed 2 ATF officers, which is the firearm and tobacco agents in the Bahamas.
Right.
So if you look at what happened this year, they had a major drug bust and weapon bust of weapon transshipment. All that is because of improved intelligence between the U.S. government and the Bahamas government, and identifying Bahamians involved in that trade and bringing those weapons to the Bahamas. That is the result of the government's effort on a diplomatic perspective. Secondly, giving the police the resources they need, bringing together the number of relevant government agencies. Here's the challenge the government faces right now, that the police acts on intelligence.
Right.
If you have communities that is not doing the simple policy of, if you see something,
say something,
right, that the police cannot respond on the intelligence, right? If you have parents who know their children are involved in criminal behavior, and for whatever reason, they ain't saying it. And so, for example, I know that there was 2 years ago, there was an incident outside Quaco Street where a baby was shot in the head, and a grandmother was killed.
Right.
When the police did the interviews, the reason why the police knew who to pick up in that crime incident, because the family knew who was after the person.
Okay.
But they shared no intelligence with the police. So in most circumstances, you find that the suspect who was being killed, likely know the perpetrator doing the killing. And so that's a whole different dynamics of intelligence sharing, right? then people make the argument, but how do we tackle it at a judicial level? All right, so obviously you need to have more increased training on the prosecution side. So the government have given the AG's office more funding to ensure that our prosecutors are trained in a way to have a successful outcome in their cases. The second thing is we look at the issue of bail. This has been a long, exhausted issue. There's been
the Caribbean over, actually.
The Caribbean over. If the Caribbean countries could have done something on the issue of bail and they could have denied it, they would have done it. Right? The Privy Council have been consistent with it. Now, what the government did, it sought to make an amendment that those who are out on bail and breached their bail was automatically revoked. Right? Then the in conjunction with the Chief Justice, they created a specialized court just for firearm matters, with dealing with firearm matters on a consistent basis. The policy, I think, of the government that has gotten a lot of not scrutiny or lack of understanding is plea bargaining. Yeah. And so when people see these cases where someone commit a crime and the sentencing is not what they've preferred, is that the independent prosecutor, DPP, is using plea bargaining to try to get cases.
As a crime fighting tool.
So, are we making progress on the front of crime? I would say yes.
Okay.
I've just simply said to you how the government is targeting crime on the judiciary basis, on the policing basis, on the foreign affairs basis, and where the biggest exposure is in the community. So there was a story where the Prime Minister was meeting with the graduation class of the recent National Training Agency, the National Youth Guard, right, NYG. There was a kid in the National Youth Guard who was afraid to come out of the program to go back into the community.
Wow.
Because the National Youth Guard for him
was a safe haven.
It was a safe haven.
Right.
And his thing to the Prime Minister, if I go back in the community, they can make me choose between a life of crime and this. I think that they were able to the Defense Force tried to absorb a lot of the cohorts.
Right.
So the programs like the National Youth Guard program was saving these young men from an alternative lifestyle of crime. And then they were realizing when the police officers were out of the school, let me do this, and this, we can have a talk about the consequences of government changing.
Right.
The FNM come in, say we don't want the police in the schools. We want them outside of the schools. The PLB come in, we want the police in the schools. And I commend Assistant Commissioner of Police Charles Wilhana, having the police in the schools reduces the probability of those kids being recruited on the way to school. So the natural recruitment is trying to get these young men on the way to school. So when the police are in the schools, that in itself is an intelligence, because we know that the gangs are recruiting from the students.
Right.
And so if you look at the persons committing the crime, you're seeing that the age bracket is 15, 16, 17, 18. So they're going younger because there's a higher probability that that young person is not on the police radar.
Right.
So while you're looking for the fellow who you think is 25,
Pookie. It's a
little Pookie who's unfamiliar. So this is a very complex challenge. Yeah. But police solve crime on intelligence. They rely on the community to give that intelligence. One of the things that has happened last year was that there was an indictment. That indictment undermined the trust of the public and the police.
Do you think it's been repaired at this point?
I think Shanta, as a commissioner of police, Shanta Knowles is in the process of healing that trust.
Okay. All right. We're going to the break. When I get back, I want to ask you about some words from the leader of the opposition who posits an interesting theory that many of the people that are interested in crime and criminality are doing so funded by the resources of government and political organizations. I don't know exactly where he gets the data from, but I think it is something that if we have the communications director from the office of the Prime Minister, I'd like to know what is the line item budget for gang activity. We'll talk about that when we return. Welcome back to Freedom March. Thank you so much for staying with us through the break. I'm Levin Miller. I've been in studio with the Director of Communications, who is here directing communications, even while we're on the show. But I have some things that I have to ask him, and if he's sitting here, then I want him to tell me. Like I said, the Leader of the Opposition has suggested some things that I think the Director of Communications should answer. But I also know, Director of Communications, that the people who listen to Freedom March will listen religiously for their birthday shout-outs, and if I don't get these in, they will probably have a protest by the Office of the Prime Minister tomorrow. So in order to stop that, let's just send a special birthday shout-out to Kaylee Dean. And this says, I would like to wish my best friend, sister, Mrs. Kayla Dean, over in Bryland, a happy birthday from her best friend, sister in Bryland, Shammy Grace. She wants you to enjoy your day, Kayla, and also from your husband, your two sons, your sister, your brother, your family, your friends, especially Lucy, Grace, and Susan. They also want you to enjoy your birthday. Then there is Beulah Eden. Happy heavenly birthday to our mother, Beulah Eden. We miss you more than you think. You are forever in our hearts, from your children, Sheila, Tracine, Charles, Debbie, Casey, and all your grand and great-grand. Sleep in peace. And then there is condolences. Dr. Winston Roll. It is with sadness that we say farewell to Dr. Winston Churchill Roll, who passed away this morning, a great Methodist, a great Elk, a great Junkanoo icon, and former leader of the Mighty Music Makers, a great community and civic activist, and a great Bahamian. May his soul rest in peace. And so we've taken care of that. Let's go to the clip from the Leader of the Opposition. Here is Michael Pintard making some interesting suggestions. We have the Director of Communications here. He's not the Minister of Finance, but I suspect that if there were a line item in the government's budget for criminal buy-in to the electoral process, the Director of Communications would be able to aptly tell me that. So let's go to the video from the Leader of the Opposition.
Islands, who've lost nephews who've gone on a run from here to Jamaica and didn't make it back, who have nephews who've gone missing, who've lost two brothers who were murdered. For me, like many of you out there, this is personal. So for those people who are cynical and say, oh, not a politician talking about violence, all of us live in this. All of us have family members or friends, people we care about, who've either made a wrong turn or was an innocent who was murdered by somebody, by a stray shot, or somebody who was robbing them. We have lost people. At some point, we have to be angry enough, but motivated enough to do something to make a difference. And so for me, I look at what is being done now in this country. I look at what legislation is being passed. I look at some of the policies that are being put in place. And I must tell you, I am not confident that those who now hold the reins of power in this country will make a difference in what is happening. In fact, I don't believe they have the moral authority to do so. Because at the end of the day, if in your campaigns, in our campaigns, there are gangsters that are working, and we're not encouraging them to change their life, we allow them to stay in the life they're in, as long as they could bring 50 voters card or 100 voters card. We are aiding and abetting the bloodshed on the street. And so when I interact with persons who are on the road, because everybody deserves a second chance, I'm no better than them. But when I interact with them, my conversation is about how can you change your life? Our Prime Minister is proud to be referred to as the daddy of the streets. But if I'm the daddy of the streets, that suggests that a whole bunch of people hold me in reverence. I must be able to have some influence on them. Why doesn't daddy call in? All these fellas who are armed to the teeth, who have influence in communities, that have helped them win some election, call them in, have a conversation about squashing the beef, interrupting the violence. If we are serious, let's hire people who can truly make a difference in intervening in the lives of our young people. Help them to control their anger, to help brothers appreciate you don't own the female in your life, and if things go wrong in the relationship, you have no right to take that life. That truly, yeah, there may be a conflict, but you could walk away from that conflict And you could find honest, law-abiding officers who could intervene and deal with somebody who took a shot at you as opposed to you seeking to run back up on them. Because you may not make it. And Satan whispered the nonsense in our mind about going after some people. He never tells you the second half of the story that you...
And so, literally, I have to ask, at 75 years old, the Prime Minister is referred to as the daddy of the streets.
I mean, I sometimes I listen to leader of the opposition. I'm not certainly sure that he's convinced on what he's saying. I mean,
He sounds convinced. He says the Prime Minister is the daddy of the streets.
I'm
That's a very conclusive statement.
I'm not going to respond to that comment. But what I will say is this: one, I think that the leader of the opposition is making some very strong assertions.
Sure.
Hold
on, don't run past that. That implicates
both
all
himself,
political parties.
He's implicating both himself.
Yeah, are you? You don't speak for the PLP.
I don't speak for the leader of the opposition.
Right.
Or neither do I speak to the on behalf of the rest of the party.
Right. But where does this assertion come from?
But I do have the responsibility of speaking on behalf of the government of the Bahamas.
Sure.
The comments by the leader of the opposition is drawing the implications that the person in the government of the Bahamas or the Prime Minister himself is aware of no persons involved in criminal activities that is resulting in the slaying of a lot of young men.
Correct.
And is turning a blind eye to that simply because of political votes.
Right.
I think I could say that those comments are reckless.
Right.
That they are downright irresponsible. And someone who is the leader of the opposition must be more temperamental and sober in his commentary.
He says that the men are armed to the teeth.
If the leader of the opposition, who said in his comments that I think that he said he's aware, or he know, and if he know persons who are armed to the teeth, I believe that he has some information that he ought to apprise the Commissioner of Police of and officers, because the responsible thing to do, if you know persons who are participating in the bloodshed that we are seeing on that street, you should turn them into the
But what he's suggesting is that you all know. He says that we know the people that are doing these things, but they could bring us 50 or 100 voters' cards, and we are not encouraging them to leave their lives of crime.
Michael, the leader of the opposition speaks for the leader of the opposition. If he is participating in what he's describing in that video, he speaks for himself.
Okay.
I'm saying the Prime Minister, however, is not engaged in what he is speaking about.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And that he should be much more cautious. I know it's the election season. He must be much more cautious in his utterances.
Right.
Right? To that the Prime Minister, who's the leader of...
Let's use his words. His words is the Prime Minister is proud to be called the daddy of the streets. Those are his exact words.
Speaking with the Prime Minister, never communicated that to me, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay.
What the comments that I am referring to is that the leader of the opposition is saying that the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, who happens to be the representative of the people of the Bahamas, is turning a blind eye to the brutal slaying of young men on his street for political votes.
Yeah.
The position of the government of the Bahamas is that those comments are irresponsible and they are reckless.
Okay.
And we caution the leader of the opposition to be much more responsible in his utterances. If he's speaking on behalf of the Free National Movement and has information of the historical past that may be this, then that is a past that them and the Free National Movement must confront. If the leader of the opposition have information of men who is gun or armed to the teeth, as he suggests, he should give that information over to the Commissioner of Police. The Prime Minister, as the Prime Minister, is not going to be speaking to people who the Commissioner of Police have on her wanted list, because she's looking for them. So they need to speak to her.
Correct.
Not the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Ingram used to say, if you got this sign a matter, that the police need to deal with. Now that's the policy of the Prime Minister.
It did. All right, so we have to make sure. I have to make sure that because as I said, certainly it would show up as a line item if the Prime Minister was, sponsoring criminal activity, certainly we would have to we would be able to track it in the budget somewhere. But I also thought this is the position of Freedom March. I also thought that it was careless. I dare say reckless, right? In that you could suggest this thing almost as if it is a fact. And of course, when you have a certain social positioning, Leon Wallace said something a time that I, as a younger boy, I didn't understand, but I get it now as an older person. He says, because of what I've done as a faith leader, I never permit people to see me outside of my posture as the faith leader that I am. Because there are some people who, believe it or not, all the faith they have is what they've seen God do for me. And so I owe it to them not to destroy their faith. And the correlation I'm drawing is, if you hold a position of public leadership and trust, there are some people that will never fact check anything you say. And therefore, you have a fiduciary obligation to ensure that the things you say are calculated, they are measured, and more importantly, that they are truthful or referenceable. I should be able to draw a line from your statement, either to a fact or to the truth. And I'm not sure that I can do the same thing.
I think, then this is, as you go into the election season, you're going to have such circumstances. The job of the opposition, especially in an election period, is to have the credibility of the government to be in question. Sometimes you lack information to do so. Sometimes you say irresponsible things to achieve that outcome, and sometimes you have facts. I think in these circumstances, the comments by the leader of the opposition is irresponsible. And the response cannot be, and I know how this thing go.
Yeah.
When it comes to the reputation of the government of the Bahamas,
when it comes to the lives of Bahamians,
you can imagine saying that the man who said this morning that he has a part of his responsibility is seek security briefings every morning. The Commissioner of Police brings a book. In that book is the images of young men, women who are slayed. The Prime Minister got to go through that. He got to see those faces. He got to see the faces of criminals who are doing that crime. If you listen to his comment, he's saying that after seeing all of that, that the Prime Minister is still engaged in the practice that he described of turning a blind eye for political votes. Yeah. I mean, that is as irresponsible as you could get in the comments. And I think that I'll go as far as saying that I know Pentad, when it meant the leader of the opposition, when you're speaking outside and you're saying things, you get excited.
Yeah, you're getting hot.
You're
running hot. Yeah. All right. So, since it is political season, I see there is a statement by the member of parliament for Fox Hill, who made some interesting statements. Right. I have the director of communications here. I asked him questions about communications. Put up the picture of Fred Mitchell, please, and then I want to read the statement. That was interesting to me when I saw it, because I don't know. This was a bit tongue in cheek, if I could say. Right. So Fred Mitchell says in a statement this morning. The F&M embarrassed themselves last evening by their fake walkabout in the Elizabeth constituency. This is a part of the latest strategy of the hopeless and hapless F&M leadership to fool the Bahamian public with activity but no action. The red T-shirts impressed no one. What it smacked of is desperation. They couldn't tell the people of Elizabeth who their candidate is going to be. So isn't it strange that you go knocking on people's doors and you can't tell them who is running for the F&M in Elizabeth? Dwayne Sands, who was condemned by the courts and fired as a minister, had gone running into tall grass? I don't even know what that means. But he got a cut behind after his party spent $400,000 in the last general election, and he still lost Elizabeth. He believed he would lose again in Elizabeth, so he's refusing to run there again. But yet the F&M was campaigning in Elizabeth with no candidate. The PLP knows who its candidate will be. She has the stellar record as the minister and MP. That's why Joe Beth for Elizabeth all the way. And I think that it is interesting that the member of parliament for Fox Hill would say that, because what we do know is that incumbent doesn't necessarily mean automatic.
Oh, well, I would say this, especially after my matter between Erica and the Office of the Prime Minister, and someone who is running the F&M campaign on the Guardian radio show. That because the statement that you read from was the statement of the chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, I am very limited in what I could say in those comments. I know my politics is no secret, but what I won't do is to expose myself to someone saying that I was.
Agreed. I just thought.
I in the season I can't give them nothing.
But I think it's mildly disingenuous.
I can listen to you say it.
Right. I think it is mildly disingenuous, and here is why I say that. Right. Because quite honestly, we do know who 17 people will be contending the next general election for the Free National Movement. And I'm saying that the word incumbent in politics does not translate into the word automatic. And so incumbent means absolutely nothing if we're measuring it politically. And all I'm saying is that if the government of the Bahamas is deciding when the election date will be. I see the Prime Minister is saying that only the Prime Minister is going to make that decision. Only the Prime Minister knows. I also don't think that it is in good taste for him to continue to say that, because I think the electorate or the Caribbean over are moving away from their desire of giving that power to a Prime Minister, right? So hearing him say it is interesting. I see the Prime Minister has also said that the Boundaries Commission report won't be ready before the end of August. And that's because he has directed them to go and look at some other things with regards to...
well, I think on the issue of the Boundaries Commission, obviously the boundaries of commission work is really contingent on the voter registration.
Sure.
And until that process could reach a level of satisfaction, then the chair of the Boundaries Commission, what happens to be the deputy or a senior member of that commission, happens to be the Deputy Prime Minister, would be in a much able position to submit their report.
Sure.
And so it would be premature whilst that process is going on to have a
They gave us a date though, Dre. They said August. They say August.
And it's fair for governments to give dates and be very truthful in saying that we need more time.
Okay, so the position now is they need more time.
I'm just saying it's fair. You asked me the government of the Bahamas give a date.
Right.
I'm also saying that it is fair for the government to communicate very honestly that they need more time to finish their work.
Okay.
I think that Bahamas would appreciate that voting is the most sacred democratic process, and we want to get it right.
Okay.
All right.
So the August deadline isn't hard and fast.
The Prime Minister spoke on the matter.
The Prime Minister has spoken.
He indicated what he said this fall.
He did.
You said the government of the Bahamas give a date.
Right.
I responded by saying I think it's fair for the government of the Bahamas to be honest.
Sure.
If they miss a date and they need more time with good reason.
Yeah.
I think that it will be acceptable to the public because they want to get the democratic process right.
What do you then say as the director of communications to the people who would say that this is the government hiding its hand, this is the Prime Minister trying to, delay the process? People believe that, the Prime Minister already being the only person that knows when the election will be is already an unfair advantage. And so if you do things like labor the Boundaries Commission report, the opposition doesn't really have adequate time to...
They're on the board. I mean, they're represented. Listen, everything you're saying, I always say in my response, perception is always okay.
Sure.
In the absence of information.
Sure.
All right? If there's a vacuum, you leave the possibility of that vacuum being filled, right? The Prime Minister has indicated in the statement, I think he was trying to get into his car.
He was trying to get into
There's a part of the process that the Commission needs to do its work. They don't have that information as yet. Shannon Don Cartwright, I believe, served as a member of that commission.
He is on that committee.
So at no time will the opposition be disenfranchised of that information.
Okay.
I think what I've made to understand historically that if the government doesn't intend to make any changes, the information come back quickly. If there's a process that's ongoing and the government the parliament needs sufficient time, that they're going to exercise and take advantage of that additional time. In the absence of information, people will come to those conclusions.
Correct.
The information that I'm providing today is that there's critical parts of information that I think is tied to the parliamentary registration process that the Commission needs to do its work.
Okay.
And so it has to rely on the independent commission, the parliamentary commissioner doing his job so they can finish their job and then give a report to Parliament and go to the same people.
I open up the phone lines because I want the people to say I buffer you, so I can give you 6 minutes of phone calls. 323-7775-6980-775. He been in here dancing past these punch all day. Y'all get an opportunity to throw a couple of punch at his head, and let's see if y'all could get one or two of them to land. You can give us a call here on Freedom March. Latre Ramen, and I say that jokingly. Latre is always good conversation.
I'm sure the Valley Boys get through now.
No. I shall not let you impugn the character of the Valley Boys in that way.
Oh, you use accents?
I'm a Valley Boy.
Oh, you're Valley Boy.
But you can't compromise me like that. 323-775-6980-775. Hello, caller. Welcome to Freedom March. We got calls?
Blessings to one and all through Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
Hey, Bernice.
Miss Viola, her boy, Ramin grandson.
Yes, ma'am.
How God's blessings are you? I to be swift and quick.
Okay.
God's blessings upon the office of the Prime Minister, the Progressive Liberal Party, because we have access to the knowledge of all the funds for the Junkanoo and everything else to cause the good quality of life to happen. Okay? Now, my mortal boss, former Prime Minister, Hubert Alexander Ingham, has to be involved along with all the Prime Ministers. Pure heart, clean hand. I stand and I'll put my neck on the chopping block all of them. And good afternoon to Her Excellency for life, Dame Margaret Finland.
All right, Bernice.
Bye. Thank you.
Let's take another one. 323. Beaches and parks. What y'all got going on with that? Why y'all seem to be having... let me just say this. I don't even know how beaches and parks contractors get my number.
No, they call it.
Somehow, like
payment.
It's a payment.
I think the payment is just going to be resolved.
Apparently, the contract says that they should be paid on the 25th.
There has been some delay in the payment, and I think that that's going to be resolved.
Why is that such an issue that continues to redouble itself?
There are layered procedures in the government of the Bahamas, I find, when it comes to funding. For example, I'll give you an example. In the Ministry of Works, there's about more than 10 steps a contractor have to go through before payment. You got to go on someone's desk, you got to go on someone's desk, you got to go on someone's desk before it actually get to the Ministry of Finance desk.
Yeah.
And somewhere along that process,
there's a lull.
It's stuck on someone's desk. And I think the Prime Minister, because he kept on getting this comment from contractors, like, PM, we having this problem of getting paid on time. So, the Prime Minister chairs a finance meeting every Monday, and he raised this to his FS, and the FS said, look, man, I don't see the bills that you're mentioning. Yeah. And it's because the bill itself is stuck in about process about 15 steps before it gets to the financial secretary, that then gets it to the treasury, and then pays the check. Yeah. A lot of people believe that when they think, the government cut my check, they do so on the belief that the government and treasury cut the check like that. No. But there's a lot of layers that has to happen that goes through, and sometimes